Jenna never imagined that after 10 years of marriage, she'd be standing on the edge of a decision that would change everything. The love she once felt so fiercely for Daniel had been tested, stretched thin by the weight of financial struggles and the harsh realities of life. She had always believed love could conquer all, but now, with a new man whispering promises of a more comfortable life in her ear, Jenna was beginning to wonder if love alone was enough. The first few years of Jenna and Daniel's marriage had been blissful. They bought a cozy little house on the outskirts of town, where they dreamed of raising a family. Daniel was working hard at his job as a construction manager, and Jenna, with her marketing degree, quickly found a position at a local firm. They were young, in love, and the future seemed bright. But as time passed, the pressures of life began to take their toll. Daniel's construction company faced unexpected setbacks, and with the economy in a downturn, his once steady income became increasingly unreliable. Jenna's job, though stable, wasn't enough to cover all the bills, and soon, they found themselves dipping into their savings just to get by. What started as a temporary rough patch turned into a prolonged struggle. Daniel did everything he could to keep them afloat, working late hours, taking on side jobs, even selling some of his prized possessions. But no matter how hard they tried, the financial strain never seemed to ease. And with each passing day, Jenna felt the love that had once been so strong begin to waver. Jenna loved Daniel, she truly did. But as their financial troubles worsened, she began to resent the life they were living. The stress of constantly worrying about money wore her down, and the dreams they had once shared seemed more and more out of reach. The small house that had once felt like a cozy haven now felt like a prison, trapping her in a life she no longer recognized. It was around this time that Jenna met Mark. Mark was everything Daniel wasn't, at least, that's how it seemed to Jenna in those difficult days. He was successful, confident, and most importantly, financially secure. They met at a networking event Jenna attended for work. Mark was a client of the firm, and they struck up a conversation that quickly turned into a friendship. He was charming and attentive, always knowing just the right thing to say to make her feel special. At first, Jenna dismissed her feelings for Mark as nothing more than a harmless crush. She was married, after all, and she had made a vow to Daniel. But as the months passed, she found herself spending more and more time with Mark. He would take her out to expensive dinners, shower her with gifts, and listen to her vent about her problems at home. He made her feel valued in a way she hadn't felt in years. The more time she spent with Mark, the more she began to compare him to Daniel. It wasn't just the money, although that was a big part of it. It was the way Mark made her feel. With him, there were no worries about unpaid bills or the fear of losing their home. With Mark, life seemed easy and carefree, the way she had always imagined it should be. Jenna knew she was treading dangerous waters, but she couldn't stop herself. The more she pulled away from Daniel, the closer she got to Mark. It wasn't long before their relationship crossed the line from friendship to something more. The first time Jenna and Mark slept together, it was like a dam had broken inside her. All the guilt and hesitation she had felt up until that point disappeared, replaced by a rush of excitement and a sense of freedom. For the first time in years, Jenna felt truly alive. She knew what she was doing was wrong, knew that she was betraying the man who had loved her for a decade, but she couldn't bring herself to stop. Mark made her feel things she hadn't felt in years, and the thought of giving that up was unbearable. Jenna became adept at living a double life. She would spend her days with Daniel, pretending that everything was fine, while secretly meeting Mark whenever she could. At first, it was exhilarating, but as time went on, the weight of her lies began to suffocate her. She knew she couldn't keep this up forever, knew that eventually, she would have to make a choice. And then, Mark gave her an ultimatum. Mark had been patient, but his patience was wearing thin. He wanted more from Jenna, wanted a real relationship, not just stolen moments and secret rendezvous. He told her he was ready to offer her the life she had always dreamed of, but only if she was willing to leave Daniel. Jenna was torn. She still cared about Daniel, still remembered the love they had shared in the early years of their marriage. But that love had been eroded by years of financial struggle and the constant stress of trying to make ends meet. Mark offered her an escape from all of that, a chance at a new life, free from the worries that had weighed her down for so long. The decision wasn't easy, but in the end, Jenna chose security over love. She told herself that she deserved to be happy, that she couldn't keep sacrificing her own well-being for the sake of a marriage that was no longer fulfilling. It was time to put herself first. She broke the news to Daniel one evening after dinner. He was blindsided, completely unaware of the affair, and devastated by her decision to leave. He begged her to stay, promised that things would get better, that they could find a way to make it work. But Jenna had already made up her mind. She packed her bags and left that same night, moving in with Mark and leaving behind the life she had built with Daniel. It was the hardest thing she had ever done, but she convinced herself that it was the right choice. Life with Mark was everything Jenna had hoped for, at least at first. He kept his promises, providing her with the financial security she had craved for so long. They traveled, dined at the finest restaurants, and lived in a beautiful apartment in the city. For a while, it felt like she had finally found the happiness that had eluded her for so long. But as time went on, Jenna began to realize that money wasn't everything. She missed the simplicity of her life with Daniel, the way he had always known how to make her laugh, the little gestures of love that had once meant so much. Mark was generous, but he was also controlling, and Jenna soon found herself feeling trapped in a different kind of prison. The excitement that had once defined their relationship began to fade, and Jenna started to see the cracks in the life she had chosen. She missed the genuine connection she had shared with Daniel, the deep bond that had been built over years of shared experiences. With Mark, everything felt shallow and transactional. Jenna began to regret her decision, but it was too late to turn back. She had left Daniel, betrayed his trust, and there was no way to undo the damage she had caused. She had chosen a life of comfort over love, and now she was paying the price. Just when Jenna thought she had resigned herself to her new life, she received a phone call that changed everything. It was Daniel, and he sounded different, stronger, more confident than she had heard him in years. He told her that he had finally landed a major contract with a big construction firm, and his financial troubles were a thing of the past. Jenna was stunned. She had left him when he was at his lowest, and now he was thriving. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had traded love for money, only to find that the man she had left behind had found success on his own. Daniel didn't ask Jenna to come back. He didn't beg for her forgiveness. He simply wanted her to know that he was doing well, that he had found a way to move on. And as Jenna hung up the phone, she realized that she had lost something far more valuable than financial security. In the months that followed, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that had settled in her chest. She had everything she had once thought she wanted: a beautiful home, a wealthy partner, a life free from financial worry. But none of it brought her the happiness she had expected. She started to see Mark for who he really was, a man who had used his wealth to lure her away from her husband, but who couldn't offer her the love and connection she truly craved. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that she had made a terrible mistake. Jenna reached out to Daniel, hoping to find closure, to apologize for the pain she had caused. But when she finally met with him, she saw that he had moved on. Trihulai moved on. He had found someone new, someone who appreciated him for who he was, not for what he could provide. Seeing Daniel happy without her was the final blow. Jenna realized that she had sacrificed something priceless for something fleeting, and in the end, she was left with nothing. She had let fear and insecurity drive her away from the one person who had truly loved her, and now she was alone. Jenna's story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that love isn't about money or material things. It's about connection, trust, and the willingness to weather life's storms together. In chasing after security, Jenna lost sight of what truly mattered, and by the time she realized her mistake, it was too late. Daniel went on to build a new life, one filled with the love and happiness that Jenna had once taken for granted. And Jenna, she was left with the painful realization that she had let the best thing in her life slip through her fingers. In the end, Jenna learned that love is a choice to stand by someone even when times are tough, a choice to value the person you're with more than the comfort of wealth. It was a lesson she learned too late, but one that would stay with her for the rest of her life. Years passed, and Jenna eventually found a way to move on. She left Mark, realizing that she could never be truly happy in a relationship built on lies and selfishness. She found a new job, a new home, and slowly began to rebuild her life. But the memories of Daniel stayed with her. She often thought about what could have been if she had made different choices, if she had been strong enough to stand by the man she once loved. It was a regret that never fully left her, a reminder of the price she paid for choosing comfort over love. Jenna never remarried. She spent the rest of her days working, traveling, and trying to find peace with the decisions she had made. She lived a quiet life, filled with the kind of reflection that comes from deep regret. And in the quiet moments, when she was alone with her thoughts, Jenna would sometimes whisper a prayer that Daniel had found the happiness she had lost. Because in the end, all she could do was hope that he had found the love she had once promised to give.